Hi, everyone. My name is Grace Kook-Anderson, and I'm the Arlene and Harold Schnitzer Curator of Northwest Art. I've been with the Portland Art Museum for about 4 years, and I'm really happy to be in conversation with Intisar Abioto today. It's cooled down after our crazy heat wave, our intense heat wave, and I'm glad we can talk in this cloudy weather today. And Intizar, I was trying to remember how I first came to meet you, and I think it was I had learned about your photography. I think you were maybe doing a residency at the Oregon Historical Center, or I saw a posting of your work, and I had mentioned you. And Stephanie Parrish, our head of learning and oh my goodness, our head of learning and community partners mentioned you. She's like, "Oh yeah, we've worked with Intizar," and then not too long afterwards, I happened to come and meet you at our museum library. I think that's what it was. I was with Stephanie, and you happened to be in the library. And I just instantly took to you, Intizar. I loved your energy. I was already, really enthralled with your photography and the work that you were doing. So, and it's such great work. So I'm so happy we can be here like this and continue on this journey. Next year, Intizar Abioto is guest curating an exhibition at the museum entitled Black Artists of Oregon. A lot of the work, some of the work is looking at works that we have in the collection, but also looking at what is missing in the collection and what is a story that we're not telling about our own community. And Intizar has been doing a lot of that work. So I'm happy to have you here to share some of that, but also to share some of your work. So I'll pass it on to you, Intizar.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for this introduction. Yeah, it's been so wonderful to know you and to begin to be able to work on things with you. That's been really awesome. Yeah, and yeah, I'm an artist. I'm a photographer, writer, and a dancer, and often my work has to do with a lot of investigation around communities, people, place, and also memory, often having to do with people of African descent as a groundswell space of exploring inherent things about who we are as humans in space and time. Yeah, I'm just happy to share about how I think and feel and also move about memory and feeling and how we can do that in concert with each other. Yeah. And for this exhibit, for the Black Artists of Oregon exhibit, yeah, I've been doing that research for, I started in 2018, and it kind of stemmed from my own experiences here as a artist here. And I kind of realized that I didn't understand a lot about the Black artists who were here working before me. And I didn't, so I just started to look and ask. And so in that, I just started to talk to Black arts elders and other people and kind of slowly pull information together. And I'm still doing that. Yes.
Intizar, do you want to talk a little bit about the gathering too that you're working on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, in the process of this research that I started in 2018, after I was working on a long form written piece about this. And in the process of finding all this information, I just felt it needed to be more communal. And I think there's a way that it's great to have written things, and it's great to, like we love words and writing and like documentation and things, but there's also like a living memory, you know? And I was finding all this information, and I wanted to be in community with other artists and other Black artists around it. So I first had this idea of a dinner. And then I figured if I gathered or helped gather these Black artists, then why not have a more longer gathering? So I just started to imagine this space where we got to remember and think and feel and sense and forecast about Black artistic presence and history and impact here, as a kind of, and I guess kind of like a groundswell, like, you know, if we have our minds and our memories and our histories, and I've been able to access this information often through talking to Black arts elders like Bobby Fowler, Adrian Cruz, Asaka Shamsuddin, I believe Asaka Shamsuddin is in his 80s, Bobby Fowler is in his 70s, Adrian Cruz is in her 60s. But you know, I'm 35, so they have like a whole back and forward kind of memory that I don't have. But in communicating with them and asking questions, then that information is like shared, and then I can share it, you know. So I wanted to, this beautiful thing that I was experiencing, I wanted to share that experience with other Black artists. And then in turn, I knew that they would share it, you know, and we would share it with, you know, broader community. But I don't know, memory is such a close space. Like it can be such an intimate space that I wanted to create I mean, it's not that every place is safe, but I want to create a space where we could speak and remember and laugh and talk and about good things and bad things, as a almost like a catalyst for Black arts futures and presents and past here in the region. Yes. And so that's, yes. So I am working on that for 2022.
Awesome. Should we go into your slides? And,
yes.
And this is not so directly tied to the exhibition, but more the photography and the research that you were doing. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that works just fine. I pulled a few things. So let me do this screen share. And so just something about memory is that we're the sites of memory, you know. And you know, yeah, so a lot of my work has to do with acknowledging people, and hopefully valuing people. This gentleman I met on 15th and Alberta Street in Portland, and as we may know, that's an area that is experienced and it's experiencing I guess experienced kind of like rapid gentrification since the I don't know, the mid-aughts or early 2010s. I came here in 2010 and it was in the process of gentrification. So that's also memory, like what's being moved or phased out forcefully or through all kinds of things, displacement. So yes, I'll just go through a few of my photographs. So this is over on Killingsworth, and this is a few blocks west of Albina, and this is a family that is here. This is pictures about 6 or 7 years old. But yes, so just people and presence. And this is down in Southeast Portland, Lads Edition. This is an artist, and I love her stance here, just her shoes, her leg, her presence. It's kind of like, yes. And this was downtown Portland, 2014. This was Killingsworth, Albina, 2014, I think, or 2013. But yeah, I just started out with this kind of work just around presence. Like, I feel like at the beginning, I was just, the street photography was really helpful just to begin. And I'm not doing as much of this kind of street photography here in this city right now, because my once you kind of start out trying to figure out about information and memory, you get further information, and then it's like bigger projects. But these, just to go from 2014, 2013 to now, this is Williams. This is Williams Avenue in Portland, which is a street in the Albina area that is a historic area for Black presence here in Portland. And let's see, I'm gonna go to the next slide. So it just talks about people of African descent. This is the work of Kyan and Cleo Davis. And so they're artists here, a husband and wife artist team, and they did work around the historic Williams Avenue, which is this area where Black people lived, and also live. And I don't know if you have time to read this, piece is all along the street. They did these artworks around the history of this place. So Williams Avenue is one of the streets that is experiencing gentrification, and in which Black people were dispossessed through urban renewal and other things. So this is a photograph. I just want to come back here. This is a photograph from last summer during the protest after the murder of George Floyd and other Black people lost to police violence. So just to think about that place and memory, that street, and also what's happening or isn't happening there now. And then to come to artists, this is Bobby Fowler, one of the elder Black artists here who I spent a lot of time interviewing, spending time with, who shared with me the names of a lot of Black artists. And this is, what year was this? This was 2018 when I first started this research. And he told me about one of his mentors, Ray Eaglin. And so this is a PDF about him online that we were able to pull up. But thinking about memory, or for this artist to talk to me about how this person influenced him, and he's an arts side mentor of mine. So just this kind of intergenerational transference of what's important, also. This man, Ray Eaglin, he was an activist, an artist, a writer, and this is him. He lived down in Eugene, Oregon, and this is some of his work. This is a 89. This was made in 89. And this is a piece that I found on eBay, and then I made a portrait of it with his son. So just thinking about how art is also sites of memory, things you can share, places to activate. It felt awesome to be able to find this man's work. Yes. I very much love this particular one of his son's face against. He has work that includes many faces in one face, and this is just one of them. And I know we don't have a whole bunch more time, but just to go through a few more things. This is Charlotte Lewis. In the back, there's an artist named Isaka Shamsuddin. This is a press photo I was able to buy off of the internet is of the Oregonian. The artist in the middle is named Paul O.D. Gazua. I don't know that I'm saying his name right, but this is a mural that was and is MLK, and this man in the middle here with the kind of sweatshirt, he actually passed last year from COVID. So thinking about memory, thinking about people that we've lost, thinking about how just I don't know, I feel a lot from that. The two artists in the back are still living, but the two in the front have passed. So this is the art of this woman in the front. And so this was to another artist in the community, Adrian Cruz, who's told me so these two artists work together. And so this artist here, Adrian Cruz, has shared a lot of information with me about Black artists here, about Charlotte Lewis. This is a portrait. I'm sorry, this is out of focus, or it's pixelated. This is a portrait of Adrian Cruz that I made against her artwork, which is in a what do you call this? Like a MAX station, like a transit station. So this piece, or this clothing here she has on, she made, but if you look in the background of her, that pole, that's also her work. So you can kind of see the kind of, you can see her work on her and there, and it's awesome. So thinking about place and memory, these are a few images from an exhibit I did in the state capitol in 2019. And I purposefully wanted to know how many other Black artists had done this governors in the art in the governor's office exhibition. And the last before me, the person before me was maybe had been 25 years ago. It was actually Adrienne Cruz. So I really like to investigate the information behind the information. And so I purposefully included images of Black artists in this exhibit, because that's my history, it's also how I got here. So here's Adrienne Cruz in front of a portrait I made of her, in this exhibit, or in that exhibit in which she was the last person 25 years ago. And I know that I'm not the only Black artist who was worthy of that in 25 years. So just to kind of stir the waters, like, what is our memory? What are we asking? How brave are we to talk about things that are uncomfortable, but are worthy of investigating? So who were those artists who could have done this, who, didn't? So I also organized a performance and installation as a part of that exhibit, and I invited people and they came. So this is in the second floor of the Capitol building. This is a Black artist named Hobbs, who's a visual artist and a dancer. So I asked him to come perform. So so this is us entering that space. And if anyone has been in that space, there are all these murals that were I think that building was built in the 20s, yes. And so there is just a bunch of white people, there's no one else, obviously. And it's, about white colonialism, white people settling, this place being for white people. So it was important for me to activate this space and bring Black artists into this space and create art in this space. Yes. And so if you look in the back there, you see all the photographs, I think of maybe all the governors. So this was just an act to me, and this dancer, Kayla Jaffe, that I invited as we danced in that office, she moved to dance on the governor's ceremonial desk. And if we're thinking about even monuments, about what we value, like, I'm sure that some people wouldn't like that, but she is a Oregon native, and who are we valuing? Who and what are we valuing? And who is devalued? And who do we talk about? Or yes, you know, there are all these silences. So I very much love that yeah, I love that I didn't take these pictures. Another Black photographer I invited took these photographs named Elijah Hassan. But yes, those are the slides that I brought. I have a few more, but I know we don't have that much time. So
thank you so much, Intisar. I love that you ended here because it just makes me think about all the ways we tap into memory, and also yeah, thank you for reminding me also about your performances too, because they occupy physical space. It's other ways of conjuring up motion, movement, emotion, and kind of instilling memory in this way. Maybe one of the questions I had for you was, you started with the photography and street photography, and can you talk about why photography was an important medium for the work that you're doing, and then how that led to going deeper into working with elders and going deeper um, into other memories, and then how can that transform into collective memory?
yeah, well, photography is interesting because it can seemingly happen fast, you know. I haven't so much been interested in film because I always imagined it would just take a long time, the editing. But and if photography is in this time, and even before to some extent, somewhat easily disseminated. Um, and so it can be easy to share feelings and senses and memories, you know, that those portraits, they started out on social media, on a Tumblr blog and on Facebook, um, and on Twitter to some extent. And so it was those photographs and those people helped activate our memory around just our presence here, like, you know, faces and people. You know, there's already so much about like memory just in faces, you know. And I feel like that work was just the introduction to this place and to the history and to the memory. It's how I got to talking to people, and it was like the door in, you know. And so yeah, I mean, photography, it's like a stamp or an imprint, you know. It's a jump off place, you know, like uh you sense it, you can spend a couple seconds with it or more, a minute, but you receive something in the moment, and that's very powerful, you know. As opposed, I mean, I won't say as opposed to film or other mediums, but it's very quick. It can be quick, even though sometimes the process isn't quick. But yeah, and I think for me, it's photography is helpful because it can say that something was here, is here. And as the photographs that I've taken, even the ones from 2013, like for 2014, which is like 7-8 years ago now, and the photographs change because time keeps going, you know. But it was important. Even this city is a little different now. Like, there were less conversations around, there was less outwardness, there's certain kinds of outwardness around Black presence, and also indigenous, and like and just like people of color, like, you know, Asian and Pacific Islander, like Latinx. Like, it was, I mean, we have been here, but there's almost a diffuse not diffuse, but the story of this place, it kind of presses down, you know. And you need stories and photographs and things to kind of stir things around. And I feel like that's been happening through a lot of different people's efforts, not just us here now, even though I feel like there have been things that have happened in the past 10 years. But I found a quote this morning. I checked my Facebook, which I don't often get on anymore. But there was a quote. It said, "I watch how desperately we need political memory so that we are not always imagining ourselves the ever inventors of our revolution." And that's someone named, I don't know that I'm gonna say their name right. Sherry Moraga. And this is it's in a book called This Bridge Called My Back. And while there's lots of changes sure in this city, like, and I feel like I received like a lot of encouragement and attention for this project. I felt that to keep doing these things, I had to go further and connect with I had to connect with people living and past who've been here. It keeps you living. It keeps you able, because some art can be difficult, and stirring the waters can be challenging, and you can you can be lauded, but you can also be like not lauded and silenced or censored. And there's more power in our gathering than being alone. And we gather through our bodies, and we gather through our stories, and we also gather through our artwork that can refer to all those things. So yes.
I love that, Intisar, especially thinking about like as we come out of the pandemic, and I think maybe in some ways there's kind of this renewed sense of valuing in what it means to gather, and we are social beings. Like what does it mean to be communal? I've been thinking a lot about that too, certainly through your work as well. Yeah, I think it's interesting too, because I think traditionally photography is often seen as this kind of momentum mori, sort of capturing a moment, and then as soon as that moment is captured, it's kind of dead. It's in the past. And I wonder if our idea of photography is changing, if it's almost an extension of life, an extension of communal memory. I wonder if it's those things, especially because photography is so much more accessible than it ever was. And I think your work does that a lot too, in terms of the time you spend with elders and getting those stories and spending the time with families. It's extending the knowledge and extending the memory. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think if there's time just to say in response, yeah, I think about that too, especially with a lot of my photographs being digital, and I print them, but I haven't printed, I have more of them digital than I have printed, just because you can shoot so much. But yeah, a lot of my thought process now around my photography, it has less, there's so many things you can do with photographs, and like, what's my path as a photographer? Am I trying to shoot covers? Am I trying to do work for magazines? Do I want it in museums? Where do I want these photographs to exist? And who do I want to have access to them at different times has often been my question. And there's so many ways to be seemingly successful. Ooh, excuse me. As a person or as a photographer, and I'm doing a lot of soul searching around like what's success to me, and and also maybe the ways that other people have used their photographs is not what's important to me. Like, even being a movement artist, like I want photographs that move, that move through people's minds, but maybe move in space. Like, so I don't think I'm interested in static things, even though photography can be a static kind of medium. Yeah, it's interesting how we move and use, and how we're moved and used by photographs is consistently changing. So yeah, it's a wild thought process.
Yeah. The other thing too, because you also fold in movement and the visual arts as well, it got me also thinking about that idea of relational memory. So in science, it's where multiple sources of stimulus trigger memory. So
Mm-hmm.
smells, particular scenes, sounds, um, which is why I think kind of that work you're doing is kind of this multisensory process of pulling out memories, and to share it with us in the present and
Mm-hmm.
also us in the future. Um, can you? Maybe a little bit more abstract, but can you talk or share about like the state of public memory? How does then this become public memory? And I feel maybe exhibitions can serve that. The gathering that you're planning is such an activation of that. Um, Maybe what are other ways of for all of us to embody this idea of public memory?
Yeah. It's interesting. I didn't show these pictures, but further down in the list, there's more. I can actually pull them up briefly. Let's see. Um, yeah, I think memory can start from the inside and then go out. I don't know, relational things like where we come from, how we're sharing things, how it gets amplified. um I've been wanting to share more personal things, and I'd been putting a lot of energy into documenting outwardly, and I needed to focus more on feeling myself, and public memory. um mm, there's so many people's memory and sensations that have been censored and cut out and oppressed out of public memory discourse, even being able to talk about things. Even I haven't kept a lot into it, but even this thing around suppressing critical race theory, or even the denial of the tenure of Nicole Hannah Jones, who actually also lived and worked here in Portland at the Oregonian. I it's probably a it's how do I say this? Like a lot of, with the gathering, I want it to be intimate because these are tender, important places, and some of them are celebratory and some of them are hurtful. And you need intimacy and trust to feel that you can be truthful. And sometimes you don't have intimacy and trust, and you have to speak and do anyway. And it's a fight sometimes, or it is, you can be in danger. These pictures here, the first three photographs are of women in my family. The first on the left is my mom. She has been an attorney. She is from Greenville, Mississippi. And then in the middle are some of my aunts who they protested when they were teens down in Memphis. Like, they got arrested all these times in the 60s. And then maybe 3 or 4 years ago, they got a public marker on the street in which they had been protesting. So there's 7 of them. And so these are 4 of them. And so I think about them, and also think about my mom, these Black women who were girls in the South. And their realities were not uplifted. They were oppressed. And that goes along like racial lines, it goes along like gender lines, even just thinking about all kinds of violence, and like violence in the educational system, like sexual and also gender-based violence, like their stories would not have been pulled up in public memory. And so even now that's still the case in so many ways. So this was a mural that I did last summer with some assistance from arts organization here called Forest for the Trees. And so this was, I think, I don't know if it was 80 feet wide and maybe 16 feet high, you know? So these are photographs that I just had in my catalog. So being able to pull up memory, I think I still keep thinking about stirring the waters, stirring the pot, which is something that I think about, something that I've experienced Black women talking about, you know, like public memory can be dangerous because it can obscure so much and purposefully. So I think I'm only one person with one experience, but I think public memory is truly private memory too, you know, and how it's a question, how do we continue? Oh, there's a poem called by Lucille Clifton, and she talks about how you I should have I'm only thinking of it now, but it's very short. And she talks about how she's speaking to a greater, and she's saying how you want me to keep remembering your memory, but I keep remembering mine. And let me see if I can find it really quickly. And I think that speaks to it. Okay, yes, it's called White People Be Mad at Me Sometimes. They ask me to remember, but they want me to remember their memories, and I keep on remembering mine. And it's a very short poem, but I think that's it. And there are so many artists and people who are, I don't want to just say working, but they're expanding, like they're doing that to like bring out our truths. Yeah, and I know that it's ongoing. That poem, I don't know when it was written, but Lucille Clifton, yeah, it's been happening. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Intisar, I love that so much. Yeah, thinking about how public memory can be so problematic. And I think this mural is such a great example. I love this mural. I wish it was lasting, wish it could have lasted forever. It makes me sad because I think it it has kind of really weathered now, right? At this point.
Oh yeah, it's all gone.
Is it all completely gone
Oh
now?
yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't meant to be because there's a building that's being built right in that parking lot, so it wasn't meant to last. Even though I'm so glad I have this photograph because that it looks so good on that black. It just looks great. But yeah,
and it really makes such an impression to just drive by it too. But yeah, and then to bring up this very personal kind of memory into this very public realm is really inspiring. I love that image of your mother. It's so amazing.
same. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. This is so wonderful. Thank you so much for thinking through this, and also, yeah, just the complexity around what public memory is and why our individual stories are so important, but how do we share that, right? And I think so much of that work that you're doing is just that, how to authentically hold and make space for those personal stories, how they go out into the public, how not to tarnish or gloss over or um, impose other memories on it.
Mm-hmm.
things. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, thanks for talking with me about this and the invite. And yeah, I love being able to engage with you. I'm so appreciative of you.
Oh, I feel the same way. You totally made my day today, and I'll be thinking about this for a long time.